Good evening, I'm Mike Gousha. This is Sunday Night.
Yes, sir.
You can find him on the Baseball Park District Board, helping Miller Park become a reality. You can find him on the Summerfest Board, helping oversee the festival's plan for the future. But while he's comfortable in the boardroom, Frank Busalaki is most proud of being a union man. He's Secretary-Treasurer of Teamsters Local 200. Last week was a tough one for Busalaki and his union. 300 Teamsters lost their jobs when the Pfister & Vogel tannery shut down. Tonight, we'll talk about that sudden closing and what can be done about it. We'll also discuss the future of Miller Park and Summerfest. Frank Busalaki joins us next on Sunday Night.
And welcome again to Sunday Night. I'm Mike Gousha, and our guest tonight is Frank Busalaki, who is Secretary-Treasurer of Teamsters Local 200. You're also a Stadium Board member and the Vice President of the Summerfest Board. We'll be talking about all of those with you in the next half hour. Frank, thanks very much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about what transpired in the last week at Pfister & Vogel and A.L. Gebhardt. Tough news, not entirely unexpected for your union?
Well, it's always tough news when people lose their jobs. In my business, that happens, you know, quite a bit. So it's never easy, and it's never easy to explain, but you know, we had been in negotiations with this company. They had told us in those negotiations that they were having some difficulties and that there's a possibility of a plant shutdown or a downsizing of the company. We had forewarned them, however, that there's obligations. There's obligations under the law. There's contractual obligations. What they did the other day just surprised us. It made me very angry because there's a process. They know that there's a law. I don't know who devised their strategy for them, but I assure you that we're not going to stand for it. We're going to do whatever it is that we have to do.
Ultimately, what is satisfactory resolution of this for you and the Teamsters?
Well, you know, I don't believe that this company is going to reopen the plant. I mean, that I may be wrong about that, but to me, the 60 days wages and benefits paid to these people would be you know, resolution to this.
You expressed concern when I talked to you last week about where jobs are going, and you made no bones about the fact that yes, in negotiations they'd indicated that there's a chance the plant could shut down, but these jobs, it does not sound like the jobs will necessarily disappear. They just may reappear somewhere else, and that somewhere else being overseas.
Yeah, the indication they gave us in the last negotiating session on the 12th, and I looked at the business agents' notes on this, were that they were looking at China, and they said they wanted to be closer to their customers. I don't understand this. I mean, who consumes more goods than the United States of America? Obviously, if they're going to move this work over there, they're gonna do the work and then ship it back here. And this is the issue that a lot of labor unions have been walking up and down the streets about for a long time, Mike. Your trade agreements are good, but, you know, I mean, we've got to protect our jobs here in this country. And you know, there's approximately 600 people just here in the city of Milwaukee alone. It's going to be tough finding jobs for these people.
You hear a lot about the vibrant economy and how the economy is just roaring along. From your perspective as a union official, do you see the same thing?
Well, yes, it is. You know, there's no doubt about it that the economy is good. But we're all realists, too, and we understand that that may not be forever. You know, we could go into a downturn, and we've got to be in a position that we take care of our own. And that's what I'm afraid of here. You know, ship these jobs overseas, they'll never come back here again. You know that, I know that.
Mm-hmm. You said you'll do what you have to as a union to have this resolved satisfactorily. What does that mean exactly?
Well, you know, what we're going to do initially is we file a grievance. We've also filed an information request. We've talked to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General is processing a State Warrant Act claim. Tom Barrett is looking at federal help in this. And if they do, in fact, ship these jobs overseas, we're also going to go to the feds and ask them to try to stop this, because you know it's our government. They've got to try to do something about this.
We mentioned in the introduction of you today that you're obviously a member of the Baseball Park District Board. And I do want to spend some time talking about where we are in that project. Roof lifts at Miller Park have resumed again. What did we learn from last summer, the tragedy that happened last summer?
Well, you know, the unfortunate tragedy that occurred was a wake-up call for everybody. You know, I mean, obviously, the project was going along, everything was going along smoothly, but you know, an accident happened. And I firmly believe that our work site was safe at that time. I still believe that our work site is safe now. We've insisted on safety. And I believe that the contractors, the general contractor and the subcontractors that we have on the job are doing a fine job for us. So you know, I don't know if there's a lesson that could be learned from a tragedy like that. It's terrible. 3 young men lost their lives. You know, their families are sitting out there without their husbands and their fathers. So it's been a tragic state of events, but you know, Mike, we've got to move on. This country has a history of having tragedies happen. But what we do is we mourn, but then we move on. And that's what we're doing at Miller Park. We're going to build a facility that the people in this state are going to be very, very proud of.
And you, when you look at the lifts that are being done today, they're much smaller than the lifts that were attempted earlier. In retrospect, would that have been good policy? Were they trying to do too much and too quickly in terms of the roof lifts?
Well, you know, I don't know. You know, the stadium board tries never to get into the methods of how the contractors conduct their business. You know, I mean, you know, it's kind of like building a house. You go and you get a contractor and you tell them, this is what I want the house to look like. This is what I'm gonna pay you to do it, and then you go ahead and do it, because I know nothing about building a house, and it's on a smaller basis. But that's about where we're at here right now. The lifts are smaller because of the crane. Right. And you know, the boom on the crane is not nearly as high as the other piece of machinery was, but still, that's the contractor's call.
Based on what the people who are doing this project are telling you, one of the goals is to make sure that all of those roof pieces that are in the parking lot right now outside County Stadium are out of the way, so fans can have a place to park and use that area when the baseball season begins. Are they going to make that by the time opening day comes?
Well, I'm sure they're going to try. You know, obviously the Brewers accommodated us, which they've been very good throughout this project. And you know, I feel confident that we're going to meet the schedule, that you know, that the contractors are going to meet the schedule, and that we're going to be able to shift those roof pieces back closer to the ballpark so we can free those parking spaces up.
Frank Busalaki is a member of the Baseball Park District Board. We'll continue talking with him on Sunday night in just a moment.
Sunday Night with Mike Gousha is brought to you by your Milwaukee and surrounding area Chrysler Plymouth dealers and by Columbia St. Mary's.
Cannon and Dunphy, skilled, hardworking, successful in helping thousands of Wisconsin families just like yours. Cannon and Dunphy bring their expertise to every case, big or small, from simple automobile accidents to complex medical malpractice cases. Cannon and Dunphy were both rated by their peers as 2 of the top personal injury trial attorneys.
If you have been injured, call Cannon and Dunphy, personal injury attorneys with a reputation for winning.
The King brothers, separated at birth. George King would wind up living with a family that subscribed to popular fishing magazines. James went to a family that subscribed to the Wall Street Journal. As the years passed and the boys grew, George spent most of his time in front of the television, watching fishing shows, while James read the Journal like a sponge, absorbing ideas, insight, and getting a real sense of the opportunities surrounding him. 28 years later, George lives at home with his parents, while his brother James started a B2B web company, got mezzanine financing, and went public with a record first-day pop. Food for thought, especially since you can get 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal for just 57 cents a day. That's 25% off the regular subscription. Subscribe now. Call 800-228-5500. That's 800-228-5500. The Wall Street Journal, Adventures in Capitalism.
Your local Ford store wants to cut to the chase. Get this with all this for just this. Lease a new Ford Ranger 4x4 Super Cab for only $189 a month. For $189 a month, you get a V6 engine. That's right, a V6 plus air, automatic, and more, all for $189 a month. Get this with all this for only $189 a month. Got it? Good. Now get to your local Ford store today.
We're back on Sunday night with Frank Gousha, who's on the Baseball Park District Board. Let's talk about labor out at the ballpark right now. Do you have enough workers to finish the job? That is an issue right now, especially in terms of iron workers.
Yes, it was something that we've been concerned about, and I've talked to the Brent Emmons from the Iron Workers about this, and we're going to be able to man the project. We have enough workers right now. When we get into the warmer weather, of course, we're going to need to ramp up and get some more people in there, but we feel confident that we're going to have enough workers. You know, there is a shortage of skilled workers, and actually there's a shortage of workers everywhere you go, really. And but we feel confident that we'll be able to address that, Mike.
How are the iron workers doing? You talk to some of the people on the site. How are they doing? How do they feel about things right now?
Well, from the people that I've talked to, they're doing very well. I think getting that first major lift behind us since the accident was a very important thing to do. You know, the iron workers are a lot like my members, the Teamsters. They have an awful lot of pride, and they wear that pride very proudly, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. They have very difficult jobs, as do all the people that work in the trades. It's not just the iron workers, it's all the people that work in the trades. And they really want this project to be finished. They want their stamp of approval on it, just like I want the Teamsters and the steam fitters and the electricians, everybody, to have their stamp of approval on this project. It's really a pride thing for all of us.
Do you see any possibility that this stadium would not be ready right now on the date that is scheduled to open, not this year, but a year from this April?
No. I just give you that a flat answer, no. I'm an optimist, you know that. And I don't see any reason why that can't be done. Again, we have the general contractor we have here is the best there is. That's why we picked them. Huber Hunt has built more stadiums than anyone. And actually, this is probably going to be the only stadium that they're going to be late on. They've opened them all on time. The last two was the one in Seattle and the one in Phoenix, and they both had roofs on them.
Let me ask you a question about the roofs, because there's, I think, an interesting point to that. This is the first fan-shaped convertible roof in North America. It's the first radial roof, as they call it, as opposed to linear roofs, which have been built in Phoenix and in Seattle. Correct. Has there ever been a moment of second-guessing amongst board members saying, you know, why didn't we maybe go with the linear roof, where that's had a little bit more experience in this country, it's been done on other projects, maybe we should have gone that route?
Well, I haven't heard that from our board, and you know, we really have a unique group of people on this board. I'm so proud to work with them. But no, that's not the case. We wanted to make this building special, and when we got into the design competition on this, there never really was any doubt in our minds that this was the way we wanted to go. We knew it was going to be difficult to do, but there never was any doubt in our mind that this was the type of roof that we wanted to put on this ballpark, because we want to make this ballpark very special. You're right about Seattle and Phoenix and other areas, and those roofs are as heavy as our roof, but the design of our roof is going to be so unique, and that's what we really wanted to do. We wanted something special for Miller Park and for Milwaukee.
I want to talk for a moment on the personal side of what this experience has been like for you serving on the Baseball Park District Board. You're a union guy. Those are your people. But yet you have to spend a lot of time in rooms with the captains of industry, the people who are the shot callers, so to speak. Is that a comfortable fit for you? How do you feel about that?
Well, for me personally, it's never bothered me. And, you know, I mean, my blood runs union blood. But on the same token, I feel very comfortable sitting in a room with corporate executives or bankers or whoever they might be, for the simple reason that I understand, or I try to understand, what they're all about. I mean, you know, they're in a business, they're trying to make money, and I understand that, and they provide the jobs for my union members and other union members. You know, and there's that fine line that you get into where people say, well, he might be leaning too far to one side. Well, that's not the case.
Do you hear that from
people?
people?
Sure. I hear that. I hear that. But you know something? The people that really know me, the Teamsters that know me, know that I will not compromise their position one iota, because I believe in the labor movement. But you must also understand that without those employers, guys like me would be, you know, mowing lawns for a living.
Has that changed? Has the attitude of organized labor toward business changed? Has it been a change forced out of necessity? You just made the comment that, you know, you realize that's where the jobs come from.
Well,
It used to be just almost a strictly adversarial relationship at times.
Yeah, years ago it was, Mike. I mean, I can remember that you see movies about these Teamster meetings, these union meetings with the cigar smoke in there. Well, those types of things really did happen back then. But that's not the case anymore. You know, the population's educated. People understand. They understand economics. And I believe that the unions feel more the way I feel today, that you must sit down and you must talk to the employers, you must talk to the business people, because when you do that, you are representing your people the right way. You're getting all the facts out on the table.
Do you think the politics of unions have changed today? And briefly, what I mean by that is, in the past, the Democratic Party always just counted on organized labor to, I don't want to say be in its pocket, but to be there. Every election, organized labor is on our side. Last time in the governor's race, the Teamsters and a number of other local labor unions said, we're going to endorse Tommy Thompson, the Republican. And in fact, in the mayor's race in Milwaukee, organized labor is essentially taking no stance. They're not endorsing either John Norquist, a lifelong Democrat, or George Watts, who was a lifelong Republican until recently. Is that a signal of change in terms of your politics?
Well, you're very perceptive. I think it is. I think that the union leaders are starting to realize that we need to stand up for the people who we feel are going to best represent our members.
Regardless of party?
Regardless of party. Tommy Thompson has been a jobs guy. He's defended the working people. Whenever I have called on him, he's always had his door open for me, as well as other labor men. And I realize he's you know, there's going to be times when he's not going to do everything, but on key issues, he's always been there. That's why the Teamsters stood up, and we supported him, because I felt that he was the best choice for our membership.
And briefly, why do you think the Milwaukee County Labor Council has not endorsed John Norquist?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a member of that council. I don't know why they haven't. I would think that once the primary takes place, that they'll probably take a position at that time.
We're going to take another break. Back on Sunday night in just a moment.
Tomorrow morning on Daybreak, the ultimate guide to avoiding ripoffs.
Starting at 5, the top 10 consumer complaints. Is yours on the list?
And at 6:30, what's in the fine print and how can you avoid being the next ripoff victim?
That's tomorrow on Daybreak.
Your local Ford store wants to cut to the chase. Get this with all this for just this. Lease a new Ford Ranger 4x4 Super Cab for only $189 a month. For $189 a month, you get a V6 engine. That's right, a V6 plus air, automatic, and more, all for $189 a month. Get this with all this for only $189 a month. Got it? Good. Now get to your local Ford store today.
To clarify investment opportunities, you don't need better reading glasses. You need better reading. Barron's. It's how money becomes wealth. No one looks at the market with a more insightful eye than Barron's, offering timely coverage of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, everything the independent investor needs to stay informed. Subscribe now, and you'll also receive this Barron's Stock Evaluator free. It lets your computer help you turn money into wealth. Get 13 weeks of Barron's and the Stock Evaluator, all for only $39. Call now, toll-free in the continental U.S. 800-238-1400. That's 800-238-1400. Storm Team Alert Network from today's TMJ4 and News Radio 620 WTMJ. Severe weather information wherever and whenever you need it.
Activate.
On your home or office computer. Online at touchtmj4.com.
We have mentioned that Frank Busalaki wears a number of hats. One of them is as vice president of the Summerfest Board. You're still trying to work out a lease with the city. Why is that so important right now? I know you've got the project to improve the grounds sort of on hold right now, but yet your lease doesn't expire until 2005. Why is it a necessity that you get it done now and get a new lease now?
Well, there's a clause in there that the Marcus bonds be paid off in December, and that the city could open up the lease for negotiations. But a year and a half ago, I think it was, Mike, Valerie Daniels-Carter was on your program, and Valerie had stated at that time that we needed to get a lease because we have this Millennium Momentum Plan. And the plan, it's an aggressive plan to upgrade the grounds. We realize that not just Summerfest, but the ethnic festivals are growing. More people are coming. And we wanted to give the grounds a facelift. Well, we can't do that because we need a long-term commitment from the city that we're going to be there. The private people that we want to go to get money are reluctant to give us any money. We want to also go out and get bonding. Our plan called for about a $50 million expenditure, which I might add now is gone up to $65 million. And, you know, so it just keeps spiraling because we're not getting it done. And it's important that we get the long-term lease so that we can progress with this. Miller Park, State Fair Park, Lambeau Field, on and on and on. There's always been some type of public support via a tax or whatever. We're not asking for that. We're saying we're going to go out and raise our own money, and we're going to do bonding, and we're going to do this facelift, but we need that lease.
So what is the problem here? Is it a matter of, as the city contends, lakefront access is still not resolved, or is it more simply a personality conflict between Bo Black and John Norquist?
Well, I'll take the first one first. The lakefront access has been solved.
To your satisfaction?
Well, I think to everyone's satisfaction. We made a presentation. We talked to the Board of Harbor Commissioners last week about it. The governor has dedicated the Lakeshore State Park. There's $9 million in the budget. The first $3 million is going for a lake walk. That's the access. In the meantime, the DNR has said the access that you have been providing is sufficient. We're going to work with them constantly to make sure that that's the case. But the access issue, we've overcome that. We've told that we need a strategic plan. We went out, we hired a consultant from Chicago to do the strategic plan. He comes back to us and says, probably one of the best run venues in the United States. It runs a good profit. We do a good job. And of the 100 or so music festivals in the United States, Summerfest is in the top 5.
All right. So is it the other one then? Is it the personality conflict?
Well, you know, if it's a personality conflict between John Norquist and Bo Black, then shame on everybody. Because this is not about John Norquist and this is not about Bo Black. This is about the people in southeastern Wisconsin. This venue down there provides a lot of entertainment and a lot of nice days in the summertime for almost 2 million people. It should not be about 2 people. This should be what's good for the area, and forget about all of the other stuff.
One final break on Sunday night. Back in just a moment.
The auto accident was not your fault. You were injured. Choose the right law firm to handle your automobile accident case. In a review by their peers, the law firm of Cannon & Dunphy stands head and shoulders above the rest and is one of the best regarded personal injury firms in the state. Cannon & Dunphy have successfully settled most auto accident cases without a trial. When automobile accidents happen, remember you do have a choice.
If you have been injured, call Cannon & Dunphy, personal injury attorneys with a reputation for winning.
No pizza, no cake, no nothing.
Do I stop living?
No, start living on Weight Watchers Easy 1, 2, 3 Success. Eat any food you crave. Every food has a points value. 10 points, 9, 5, 2, 0. Stay within your daily points and lose.
I can live with that.
Now, only $8.95 every week. Call 1-800-651-6000.
I can live with that.
Discover the 10% difference, a whole new approach to weight loss.
Have you been to Weight Watchers lately?
When you've been fortunate to achieve in life, it's important to share that success with others. I feel strongly about that. I believe the folks at Target stores do too. When they talk to me about kids fighting cancer at the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the idea of building a place for families to stay, I knew it needed to happen. Today, Target House is real. A success story from a store that donates over $1 million a week back to the community. Sharing success is something I admire.
In the name of progress, man has given up more and more control to the machines of his own creation. Perhaps it is time to take some of it back. The thoroughly exhilarating TL with 5-speed sequential sport shift from Acura.
We're back one final time on Sunday night with Frank Busalaki. I want to ask you about a story that was told to me by one of the, by the Stadium Board chairman, one of your cohorts on the Stadium Board.
My good friend.
Yes, Bob Trunzo, who told me that at one time, and you mentioned this to me before the show began, his father was your employer at one time. And as Bob tells his story, his dad asked you if you wanted a management job in the company, if you wanted to be a supervisor at the company, and you said no. In fact, you said, no, I can't cross the line. Is that story true?
That's exactly true. Yeah, I couldn't cross the line.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I just, you know, I've been a labor guy my whole life. I did do some dispatching and some office work there, but crossing the line and actually becoming a full-blown management guy just was not something that was in me. And in all honesty, that's not to say anything wrong about any of the management people, but I don't think it'll ever be anything that I could do. I really feel fortunate to have been able to do what I'm doing for the Teamsters. I love these people. They've been such a big part of my life. It's really hard to put into words. You know, they come into our office. We have a medical clinic there. I see them. I see their families. I've seen the births of their children. And of course the deaths of their family, and I've just become melded to them, and so I've just become so attached to them. And my father was a Teamster, my brother was a Teamster, my uncles were Teamsters.
It's in the blood.
It's in the blood.
Frank Busalaki, thanks very much for your time. We appreciate you being with us tonight.
Okay, Mike.
And thank you for staying up late with us. I'm Mike Gousha. We'll see you again next week on Sunday night.